What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I am out near Dallas, Texas to drive a brand new Toyota SUV. This is the 2023 Toyota Sequoia. That's right, there is finally an all new Sequoia. Finally, the last one that we got that was all new was back in 2008. So to say that we are long overdue for a refresh would be a little bit of an understatement. In this video, we are going to do a full walk around deep dive of the new Sequoia. We are also going to take it out on the road and we are going to discuss pricing, which we did not know before. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a deep dive of the new Sequoia, starting with some details about this particular one that we are driving. This is the Capstone trim. So we saw the Capstone trim get introduced first on the Tundra pickup truck, with which this car shares a lot of its underpinnings, including its engine and drivetrain as well. So the Capstone is going to be the most expensive trim that you can buy. It is the most luxurious version of the Sequoia. So this has every bell and whistle that you're going to be able to get on a Sequoia. So you do get some special styling tweaks when you get the Capstone. You get this very chrome-like grille with like the honeycomb design. I think it looks really nice. You get the blue Toyota emblem because the Sequoia is a hybrid. There is no gasoline-only version of the Sequoia. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We've got very similar headlight design, sort of this kind of L, upside down L shape as you get on the Tundra, because of course these two cars, this and the Tundra pickup truck, share a lot in common, just like the previous generation Sequoia. We've got these very nice 22-inch two-color, two-tone wheels. So 22 inches is the biggest wheel you're going to be able to get on a Sequoia. You also have body-colored fenders here, so if you want that sort of more on-road look, you don't want like the plastic fenders that you would get on one of the more like base or off-roady trims, the Capstone is going to be for you. We've got our iForce Max badge here. So the iForce is Toyota's new twin-turbo V6. The Max means that you get the hybrid, as I mentioned, hybrid only on the Sequoia for 2023. We've got lots of chrome. We've got chrome here on the mirrors as well. On some of the other trims, you can also get large tow mirrors if you plan to do a lot of towing on this car. You've got your Capstone badge down here. That looks very cool. That's a nice touch. We also have chrome here on the door handles, chrome here on the windows, and we even have chrome up here on the roof bars up there. So you better like chrome if you're gonna go for the Capstone. I'm really liking this red on this Capstone model. I believe you can get this red on other trims as well. I actually drove in a Limited, which is like second from the bottom, and it had this red as well. I like it a lot. It's just, it's a lot of red. So, you know, it's a choice you're gonna have to make if you really like the red or not. Here we have Sequoia spelled out here across the tailgate here, or I'm sorry, the hatch. We also have a little bit of a metallic finish here as well. I like how the Sequoia looks. I'm very much a fan of the exterior styling. I think it's very aggressive, and I think the proportions overall actually work a little bit better here than they do on the Tundra. So now it's time to talk about the cargo space. So the old Sequoia had a sliding glass window. Unfortunately, we don't have that feature anymore, but what we do have is a glass piece that you can at least lift up, and it lets you throw some stuff back there in a hurry if you don't feel like you know, lifting the whole thing up. Of course, you can do that because we have a Capstone. We obviously have a power lift gate that you can close via power. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation, and we have to spend a significant amount of time back here. Because this is a hybrid and Toyota had to put the batteries somewhere, they chose underneath the third row seats. That means, as you can see, the seats don't fold flat like in a lot of other three-row SUVs. So you don't have a nice, even, flat load floor. You have this big chunk of a third row seat when it's folded down. So what Toyota had to do to kind of work around that was be a little bit clever. So we have this removable sort of shelf here, and you can put this into different tiers. So on this tier, you have like a little bit of storage below it if you want to put like, I don't know, anything like super small in there. It's kind of flush with like this surface, and now you kind of just have a little bit bit more of like a flush trunk here. These can also slide, so I'll talk a little bit more about that later when we get into the third row, but you can actually slide that third row forward. It's the only vehicle in this segment that offers that. Again, it's kind of a workaround. Like, they couldn't make it flat, so what else can we do? We can make it slide to give you a little bit more cargo room. So as you can see now, you kind of have like a flat surface. I can lift this up one more time into this position. Let's see, it's kind of hard to do with one hand, but it is possible to. I just want to show you that it is possible to do with one hand. So now we have it here, and you might be wondering, well, like, what is that going to do? Well, you can fold it like this, and let's just say we bring these a little bit closer here. There we go. Now I can flip this. See what I mean? Now we've got another like flat surface, and now you can use this area below to store some larger objects. Like, let's just say you want to put your groceries here so they don't roll around, but you've got some big boxes, they can sit up here. Listen, I gotta say, it's not the most pretty solution, but it kind of works. Like, I kind of do like it, I gotta say. Like, there is a lot of flexibility here that you can play around with. And then we do have one tier even above that. I feel like that is going to be the most useful when these seats are up. So let's go ahead and put them up. We do have power seats here on this Capstone trim, which is quite nice. So let me go ahead and put those up. They're not the fastest I've ever used, but they're not super slow either. When you lower them, these headrests will lower automatically, but you do have to manually like put them up. Okay, so now we've got our little partial shelf here. We have like a little bit of a gap there. I can go ahead and like fold this like that, so stuff's not gonna fall. Now you kind of have like this upper storage area plus your lower storage area kind of nicely divided while you have those seats up. So again, lots of different ways that you can configure that rear area. So again, very clever, kind of a workaround. They had to do something there because they couldn't package the third row flat, but that's what you get. So now let's talk about the second row. So some Sequoia trims are going to have a bench back here. The higher trims, including this Capstone model, are gonna have the captain's chairs. We've got the Capstone interior, which is this white on the top, black on the lower surface. This is semi-aniline leather with nice perforations in it. This is a really, really nice seat. I'll talk about the second row first because it's a little bit disappointing in terms of rear legroom. It's a little bit lower than what you're gonna get in some of the American options like the Tahoe and the Expedition. And these seats do not slide, and we'll talk a little bit about why they don't slide a little later on. So as you can see, the legroom is fine. It's just not as much as you'd expect for a vehicle of this size. Now, because we have the Capstone, we have a ton of cool features here in the center console. We've got our own climate controls, heated and ventilated seats back here. We've got two USBs. One is a USB, the other is a USB-C, and we have a 120 volt outlet as well. So plenty of ways for the kids to charge up their devices here. You've got your cup holders right here on the main console. You've got two more console cup holders here in this sort of floor console that does not remove. It's just kind of there. So you could obviously get into the third row just by walking between these seats, like no problem. There is enough of a gap there that you'd be fine. Or you can fold this seat forward. It's very easy. You can do it with one hand. You just pull this handle right here and it's going to tip and fold up. So now you can kind of see this is why the seat isn't going to be able to slide, because it's, you know, it's mounted on one of these. It's great because we have this big access point, like that is kind of nice, and it folds very quickly. However, you can't have a car seat in this while you do that. Obviously, where would the car seat go? It would have to get crushed, which is a little bit annoying. So from back here, we have these buttons, which we can use to lower this third row seat electronically, which is nice. So maybe you're done with it, you're not going to use it, you push this button on your way out. We've got lots of cup holders back here. We have two on this side. We've got a USB-C up there. We've got our air vents here. We also have some sunshades here. We also have sunshades on the second row as well. So there's sunshades in all three rows on the Capstone model, which is quite nice. The third row, again, is not that massive, just like the second row. Now they say that you can slide them forward and backwards up to 6 inches, but I'm gonna show you the legroom here. Now you can get 3 people in this back seat, which is fine width-wise. Like, this middle seat is not bad. But as you can see, the legroom is not amazing. And I do have this, I believe, slid all the way back. No, it goes back a little bit more. Okay, so in the most far back position, I have like a decent amount of legroom. So here's the rub. They imagined that, like, oh, you would just slide it forward and give more cargo space. But if I slide it even like maybe an inch too far, now my knees are touching this. So maybe I could recline this seat up, because it doesn't slide, but this second row does recline at least. So maybe if I did that, I would be a little bit more comfortable. I can also use this button right here to electronically adjust this backrest. So let me go ahead and show you that. See, so this tilts. So that gives you a little bit more room, but you really don't get any more leg room. You're just kind of leaned back a little bit more. So Toyota did their best to try and maximize space here, but you can certainly tell that the packaging of that hybrid battery took some working around. So this is not the biggest, most voluminous full-size SUV in this segment. You are going to get more room in some of the gas-only American options. And I'll talk a little bit more about the trim when we get up front on the Capstone, but I do just want to point out, these door cards look terrible. This is a pre-production model, so a lot of this is not final. It's not going to look like that on the final Capstone. I just want to let you know that. If you see anything that looks cheap, that's why. We've got power retractable running boards here on the Capstone model, so they're going to go up when you close the doors. When you go ahead and open them, they're going to deploy down again. We've got, again, this nice semi-aniline leather here. I really like how it's black at the bottom and not white at the bottom. The white might get a little bit dirty. You never know, so you might want to watch out for that if you're the type who has kids that you think are going to ruin your car. These are heated and ventilated. No massage, though. Even the Lexus LX doesn't have massage seats up front, so I wasn't really expecting the Sequoia to offer it. We've got our blue starter button because this is a hybrid. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. And now we can talk a little bit more about this interior and what we get. So everything except the base SR5 model, and you can actually get it optional on the SR5 model, is going to get this massive 14-inch touchscreen. I'm sorry for the effect here on the screen. It obviously doesn't look like that in person. This has Toyota's latest version of their infotainment from Toyota Connected. It works really well. You just have like this simple side menu here. It's got really good voice command, so you can say things like, "Hey Toyota," or you usually can, "Hey Toyota,
what do you want to do?
Play Pop 2K on Sirius Satellite Radio." Interesting. It worked while we were over here. I'm going to try it one more time. Oh, you know what? It doesn't have internet. You can ask it to tell you a joke and stuff like that, but it doesn't really have internet. We're at this racetrack here. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. We've got dual zone automatic climate controls down here as well with our heated and ventilated seat controls. I love having this big, nice volume knob. That is really nice. I'm enjoying that as well. We've got our USB right there to plug in our devices, but we also have our Qi wireless charger here as well. We've got the view button that we can go ahead and look around the car, or you can just pop it in reverse. You're going to get your 360-degree camera. We also have some tow cameras as well, so you can change up the different angles on here. It's got a lot of different views, which is great. We have our drive modes down here. Not too much differentiation between them. You get a lot more here on the Capstone. I was driving the Limited on the way over here, and it didn't have this many drive modes. It just had Eco, Normal, Sport, and Sport. This one has Sport S and Sport S Plus. This one also has a custom mode. It also has a comfort mode. These were not available on the lower trim that I drove. We'll talk a little bit about the rear suspension. It does have rear air suspension on this model as well. We also have some acoustic glass that's going to make it a little bit quieter. You'll notice that this screen is digital, which is standard, which is quite nice. So I do like the digital gauge cluster, you have kind of this like chunky off-road looking design. We've got this very nice steering wheel with the perforated leather. You get this on lower trims as well. So I do like the steering wheel even on the lower trims as well. What you don't get on the lower trims is this nice walnut wood covering some of the surfaces. So you've got your cup holders here. You've got a little storage area here, just enough room for a little mask. You've got this little storage tray that slides back, giving you access to what's under the console. So let's go ahead and lift that up. You've got a ton of space under here. Like this is a ton of room. There's actually like a divider that we just don't have where you can kind of divide this off. We've got a little coin holder in here. We've got a USB and a USB-C port as well. So again, tons of options. We've got more of that wood over here in the dash. We've got our digital gauge cluster, and we do have a panoramic roof. And I gotta say, even the limited trim that I drove, I think it was optional, but even that does get a sunroof as well, which is quite nice. We also have a 14 speaker JBL audio system here on this Capstone model, which is quite nice. And while we're in here, I should maybe go over pricing as well before we get it out on the road. You're gonna be starting at $58,300 for the base SR5 trim. Add $3,000 if you want four-wheel drive on that. The limited trim, that's the one I think you should go for. $64,700, again, $3,000 for four-wheel drive. The platinum trim, which is just below this, it's a very similar in terms of feature content, but it doesn't have like the semi-aniline leather and the wood and some other stuff. That's going to be $70,900. That's when the Sequoia starts feeling luxurious and premium. This Capstone model is the most expensive one you can get. It's $75,300 or $78,300 if you get four-wheel drive. And there is a TRD Pro version of the Sequoia that's $76,900. That comes standard with four-wheel drive. So now that I've gone over everything about the Sequoia on the inside and on the outside, let's go ahead and get it out on the road. All right, so now we're out on the road in the new Sequoia, and I told you that I'd start off by talking about the engine because it is a big part of the new Sequoia story. We've got a 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine that's of course related to the 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 engine that you get in the Tundra, which is loosely related to the Lexus LS 500. So some pretty nice origins of this engine. And because we have the iForce Max, we've got a hybrid assist. So we have a very small battery. This is no Prius. It's a very small battery. It's really there for extra grunt, extra torque, extra assist. So we get more power than the standard gas-powered Tundra gets. 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. So I believe that blows Nissan's most standard horsepower in the segment metric away, because this is 37 horsepower more than what you're going to get in the V8 out of the Armada. And we don't have fuel economy, unfortunately, yet, but I got to imagine that this more modern engine is going to be more fuel efficient than Nissan's 5.7 liter V8. Now, mated to that, we've got a 10-speed automatic transmission. All trims other than that TRD Pro that I mentioned are going to have rear-wheel drive as standard. $3,000 extra is going to get you four-wheel drive. We do have four-wheel drive here on this Capstone model that I'm driving. Your peak towing is going to be about 9,500 pounds, which is a lot. It's really good for this segment. Now, you can get the optional leveling rear air suspension, which we do have on this model. Does a little bit to control the ride, but the thing that I've noticed here is that this Sequoia feels more comfortable than the Tundra on which it's based. The Tundra feels a little bit more bouncy, especially in the rear when you go over a big bump. I'm not detecting that at all in the Sequoia. This is a very comfortable ride. And I came to the racetrack where they have all of our like off-road activities and stuff planned in a limited grade Tundra, or sorry, Sequoia. And I gotta say, I'm in the Capstone now, and I think that the acoustic glass in the front makes a little bit of a difference in terms of wind noise. It's much quieter here on the Capstone. I can definitely tell it was a little bit louder on the limited trim. The ride comfort though is great. I think the road noise is pretty low, and the power that we get from this engine and transmission combination, especially the torque, the load on torque, is fantastic. I loved this engine in the Tundra, and I love it here in the Sequoia. Let's go ahead and put my foot down. sounds good. It makes a good grunt. I don't really care if that's an artificial noise or if it's real or if it's pumped in or whatever. It sounds good. If you're one of those people who's like, oh, nothing can beat a V8, I think you'll be very pleased with this twin turbo V6. It is a powerhouse of an engine, and this 10-speed automatic transmission is miraculous. It's so smooth. I think it's smoother than any other transmission in this segment. So I want to give Toyota extra props on how good that is. I mentioned we have all these drive modes. I played with the drive modes in the Limited on the way here. Haven't detected like so much of a difference. Transmission gonna kick down a little bit quicker in Sport Plus mode, so we're revving a little bit higher now. The steering maybe weights up just like a little bit, but I don't think that this is the type of vehicle that owners are gonna be playing around with drive modes. They're just gonna be hauling their kids around, maybe towing a boat, because you do have the towing capacity here. And they're going to be doing it comfortably. I think especially this Capstone is super luxurious. It's not quite as nice as a Lexus LS600 in here, but it's very premium. This is one of the nicest cabins Toyota has right now. And the driving experience, very premium. This doesn't feel like a big boat. It's not all over the place on the road. It's very controlled thanks to that independent rear suspension. I like driving this car, and I think you will too. If you've been driving your Sequoia for over a decade and you've just been waiting for Toyota to come out with another one, I think that you're going to be very pleased with the improvements they've made on this new model. All right, so that was the 2023 Toyota Sequoia. It's definitely not the most spacious on the inside, but I love the drivetrain. I really like how it looks, and I like a lot of the features that we get here new from Toyota. Let me know what you think of the Sequoia in the comments. Would you buy one over a Chevy Tahoe or a Ford Expedition or a Nissan Armada? I really want to know your opinions. Or would you rather have the Toyota Land Cruiser if they decided to sell that here in the United States? Anyway, as always, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And check out carbuzz.com for my full written review of the 2023 Toyota Sequoia. I'll see you next time.